USC superstar JuJu Watkins as they were up early on Mississippi State on the way to a big win. This is the dreaded non-contact. Right knee buckles.
WNBA rookie Caitlin Clark shared a heartfelt message of support for USC star JuJu Watkins, who suffered a torn ACL during Monday night's NCAA Tournament second-round game against Mississippi State. The news has left the basketball world stunned. No one is expected. The devastating moment occurred with 4 minutes 43 seconds remaining in the first quarter of USC's Regional 4 matchup against Mississippi State. Watkins, driving to the basket with her trademark explosiveness, suddenly lost her footing and collapsed to the court in obvious pain. The 19-year-old sophomore immediately clutched her leg in agony before ultimately being carried off the floor, leaving a stunned silence across the arena as fans feared the worst.
Right. What I can share with you is that there were a lot of people on staff here that kind of came out of the stands, team doctors, medical personnel, who jumped into quick action with JuJu Watkins. I am told that they do not have an MRI machine here, which would do further imaging on that knee. They can do, static ligament tests to see if there's some damage, but they can't do the MRI here. So they did wheel her out. We saw her go out in a wheelchair, wheeled out of the building. They will take her to a Keck Medical Center.
USC later confirmed everyone's worst fears with the diagnosis of a torn ACL, abruptly ending Watkins' remarkable season. Before the injury, the two-time unanimous first-team All-American had been averaging an incredible 23.9 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.4 assists, and 2.2 steals per game while leading the Trojans to a commanding 33 record and a #1 seed in the tournament. Despite losing their star player early, USC managed to regroup and secure a convincing 96-59 victory to advance to the Sweet 16. Sending all my thoughts and prayers to JuJu. Kid will come back stronger than ever, Clark wrote on her X account Tuesday afternoon. A simple yet profound statement that speaks volumes about the respect between these two generational talents. The Indiana Fever Guard's heartfelt message comes at a moment when the entire sports world is processing the shocking injury to one of college basketball's brightest stars. What makes Clark's message particularly meaningful is the unique connection between these two exceptional athletes. As Clark completed her record-breaking career at Iowa last season and transitioned to the WNBA, Watkins emerged as women's college basketball's new transcendent star, the torchbearer for a sport experiencing unprecedented popularity. Many observers had identified Watkins as the most likely challenger to eventually break Clark's all-time NCAA scoring record, setting up what could have been an intriguing historical narrative over the next few years. USC head coach Lindsey Gottlieb addressed the injury during ESPN's live broadcast with remarkable composure. "She's getting seen by our great medical team. We have a group and a fan base, and a team that's going to have her back no matter what," Gottlieb said. "JuJu is the toughest kid I know, and she's going to be good one way or another." This message of strength was reflected in Gottlieb's words, as she assured Watkins that she would come back stronger. Let's see what Gottlieb said.
Other than the statement that was put out at halftime, that she's getting incredible medical care from our, Keck Medicine and the people at USC and our trainers and doctors. So players don't have any update either as well. So just respectfully, I'd ask you not to ask them something that they don't know. But I'm feeling a lot of emotions, obviously. But the biggest one is pride. What a performance.
Clark's gesture didn't stand alone, as other basketball luminaries also reached out with supportive messages. NBA Hall of Fame point guard Magic Johnson and Clark's Indiana Fever teammate Aaliyah Boston were among the notable names sending well wishes to Watkins, highlighting the widespread respect the young Trojan has earned throughout the basketball world in just 2 collegiate seasons. The timing of this injury makes it particularly cruel. Watkins was just hitting her stride in this year's March Madness tournament, seemingly poised to lead USC on a deep run as a #1 seed. For USC fans and basketball enthusiasts in general, seeing such a dynamic talent sidelined at this pivotal moment has been described as deflating by numerous analysts and commentators.
Most important things for Iowa in this game is to be able to secure defensive boards. LSU, an outstanding offensive rebounding team.
Clark connects! Going to be given opportunities to take shots tonight. They need her to feel confident in her mid-range.
Clark's supportive message has been widely praised as a classy gesture from one superstar to another, drawing positive reactions across social media platforms. The mutual respect between Clark and Watkins represents the best of women's basketball, fierce competitors on the court who recognize and celebrate each other's talents and accomplishments off of it. For Watkins, the road to recovery now begins. ACL injuries typically require 9 to 12 months of rehabilitation, meaning the USC star will likely miss a significant portion, if not all, of the 2025-26 collegiate season. However, at just 19 years old, Watkins has time on her side. Many athletes have returned from ACL injuries to reach or even exceed their previous performance levels, including numerous WNBA and NBA stars. The unfortunate reality of major sporting events is that injuries are an inevitable part of the game. What matters most is how athletes respond to these setbacks and the support system they have around them during the recovery process. With encouragement from stars like Clark, supportive coaches like Gottlieb, and an entire USC community behind her, Watkins appears to have the foundation necessary for a successful comeback. As USC continues its NCAA Tournament journey without its superstar, the team's resilience will be tested. Their commanding victory over Mississippi State demonstrates that the Trojans have the depth and determination to keep fighting, even without their leader. Whether they can maintain that level of play in the later rounds remains to be seen, but there's no doubt they'll be motivated to make a run for their injured teammate. For Clark, this gesture of support adds another layer to her growing reputation, not just as a transformative talent on the court, but as a leader in women's basketball more broadly. As she continues her rookie season with the Indiana Fever, Clark remains connected to the collegiate game where she made such an indelible mark. What do you think about Caitlin Clark's message to JuJu Watkins? Does this show the growing camaraderie in women's basketball as the sport continues its meteoric rise in popularity? And how might Watkins' injury affect USC's chances in the remainder of the NCAA tournament? As the Sweet 16 approaches, these questions loom large for fans of women's basketball, who now find themselves rooting not just for their favorite teams, but for the full recovery of one of the sport's brightest young stars.
He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. There you go. 70, 60, 40, 30, 20,
Australian sprint sensation. Gout Gout has sent shockwaves through the athletics world by delivering a stunning rebuke to comparisons with legendary Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt. The 17-year-old phenom, who has been consistently breaking records and making headlines, has finally spoken out about the constant parallels drawn between him and the greatest sprinter of all time, and his response has left the track and field community stunned. Gout said in a candid 7 News Spotlight interview with renowned sports commentator Bruce McCavan, "In the moment it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. At times, it does get a bit overwhelming, but now that I've grown up, I'm a bit mature, and my circle really helps me stay level, and I'm just trying to make a name for myself." Then came the statement that has everyone talking. "Although I do run like Usain Bolt, and I do maybe look like him, I'm just trying to be myself and trying to be the next Gout." With these powerful words, the teenage sprinter has made it clear that while the comparisons to Bolt initially felt flattering, they've quickly grown stale. The Australian superstar is now focused on carving his own unique legacy in the sport rather than living in anyone else's shadow.
Yeah, indeed.
How did that feel?
I mean, obviously, in the moment, it feels great because everyone wants to be compared to Usain Bolt, the fastest athlete alive. And at times, it does get a bit overwhelming. But now that I've grown up and I'm a bit mature, my circle really helps me stay level. And I'm just basically trying to make a name for myself. Although I do run like Usain Bolt, I do maybe look like him in a couple of ways. I just trying to be myself and just try.
What makes this declaration particularly significant is that it comes on the heels of Gout's extraordinary performances at the Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane. There, the teenager clocked an incredible 19.98 seconds in the 200-meter final, becoming the first Australian to break the 20-second barrier, though the time wasn't entered into the record books due to wind assistance exceeding the legal limit. In the heats, He posted a wind-legal 20.05, once again threatening Peter Norman's 56-year-old national record of 20.06, which Gout had already broken in December with a time of 20.04.
Away now, third of 3 heats. Under 20 boys, 100 metres. 10:35 on the clock there for Gout Gout. He'll be through to the final later on, you'll see.
These remarkable achievements have naturally invited comparisons to Bolt, who revolutionized sprinting during his dominant career. But Gout's rejection of these parallels represents a bold statement of independence from an athlete who appears wise beyond his years. Rather than embracing the mantle of the next Bolt, he wants to establish himself as the first Gout Gout, a superstar in his own right. Australian Olympic great John Stephenson believes the teenager's impact extends far beyond his individual achievements. He is fun to watch. It is at the point where it's just fun and exciting and the world is on notice. And really, Australia haven't had a legit sprinter since Matt Shervington, Patrick Johnson, and Peter Walsh, and they haven't done what this kid is doing, Stephenson told news.com.au after Gout broke the 20-second mark. Gout Gout has done this at just 16, 17, and even if nothing happens from here, what Gout Gout has done has set up Australians sprinting for the future, Stephenson continued. We should be in debt for the work he has done because he's given us some belief that we can compete again with the best in the world. The international athletics community has certainly taken notice. According to Stephenson, when I speak internationally, everyone is curious about him, and even more importantly, every young boy and girl in this country that has seen what he is doing now has that seed of belief that they can do it, and it is priceless for our sport. This growing global attention makes Gout's decision to distance himself from the Bolt comparisons even more significant. Many young athletes might be tempted to lean into such prestigious parallels, but Gout's determination to forge his own identity speaks volumes about his character and confidence. With the Brisbane Olympics coming in 2032, Australian fans are already dreaming of what could be a historic moment on home soil. He is doing all the right things, so without a doubt, the world is his oyster. And we, as the Australian public, should give him time, enjoy what we are seeing, celebrate that he is an Australian, and that we have Brisbane Olympics in our backyard, and come, then potentially he is lining up, and we are cheering him home in another Kathy Freeman moment, Stephenson predicted.
Cody Jordan as his nearest challenger, starting to roll, just too late. It is the double for Bayanda Walaza.
The reference to Freeman's iconic 400-meter gold medal at the 2000 Sydney Olympics highlights just how significant Gout's potential has become in the Australian sporting consciousness. Already, at just 17, he's being mentioned alongside one of the nation's greatest Olympic moments, with expectations that he could deliver something similarly special in Brisbane. For now, though, Gout's focus remains on his immediate future. Fans won't have to wait long to see him in action again, as he's set to compete at the Maury Plant Meet in Melbourne on March 29th. This prestigious event will provide another opportunity for the teenager to showcase his extraordinary talent, and perhaps break even more records along the way. What makes Gout's rejection of the Bolt comparisons particularly noteworthy is that there are legitimate parallels between the two. Both are tall, graceful sprinters with exceptional closing speed. Both burst onto the scene as teenagers, setting age group records and competing against much older athletes. And both have charismatic personalities that transcend their sport. But Gout clearly understands something profound, that true greatness doesn't come from being the next version of someone else. It comes from authenticity, from embracing your unique strengths and building your own legacy. By pushing back against the Bolt comparisons, he's not diminishing the Jamaican legend's achievements, but rather asserting his own place in the sport's hierarchy. As the athletics world continues to watch Gout's development with bated breath, his stance serves as a reminder that in sports, as in life, the most compelling stories aren't about following in someone else's footsteps. They're about blazing your own trail. The teenager who was initially overwhelmed by comparisons to the greatest sprinter of all time has found his voice and his purpose. He's not the next Usain Bolt. He's the first Gout Gout. And that might just prove to be even more extraordinary. What do you think about Gout Gout's rejection of the Usain Bolt comparisons? Is he right to distance himself from these parallels at such a young age, and with his times already approaching world-class levels? Just how fast might he be running by the time the Brisbane Olympics arrive in 2032? The answers to these questions will unfold in the coming years, but one thing is certain. Gout Gout is determined to write his own story, on his own terms, and the athletics world will be watching every step of the way.
Lee, Gout, Atkinson, Cully, Brady, Heathcock, watch the clock, ladies and gentlemen. He's hit the front, he's hit the straight. Ready to go. 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20.
The sprint world is buzzing with excitement as 17-year-old Australian phenom Gout Gout has just accomplished something that has sent shockwaves through track and field, becoming the first Australian athlete in history to break the 20-second barrier in the 200 meters. At the 128th Queensland Athletics Championships in Brisbane, Gout clocked an astonishing 19.98 seconds. A performance that has legends of the sport breaking down what this means for the future of sprinting. While the time won't count as an official record due to wind assistance of plus 3.6 meters per second, the significance of this achievement cannot be overstated. As track and field legend Rodney Green explained on the March 19th episode of Ready, Set, Go,
he is the first Australian to sub 20 seconds in all conditions. I was happy for him. He wished that it was wind legal, but the wind didn't permit for it. It was just a little bit over the allowable, but he is the first Australian with sub 20 seconds in all conditions, which is good. I watched him, and the competition is not even, no disrespect to this competition because they are youth athletes like him, but he beat those kids by 2 seconds, bro.
What makes Gout's performance even more jaw-dropping is the margin by which he dominated his competition. The young sprinter didn't just win, he obliterated the field, finishing a full 2 seconds ahead of his closest competitor. In sprint terms, this isn't just winning, it's competing in an entirely different race altogether. Four-time world champion Justin Gatlin was left stunned by the visual evidence of Gout's dominance, remarking, "They weren't even in the screen. When the TV was panning and you was watching him pull away from the field, he just was in the screen by himself." The Queensland Championships showcased Gout's versatility and sustained excellence across multiple events. First, he captured the 100-meter title with a time of 10.38 seconds. Then, in the 200-meter heats, he posted a world-leading mark of 20.05 seconds with a wind reading of plus 1.2 meters per second, making it the fastest 200-meter run by any athlete in 2025 as of March 19th. But it was his wind-assisted 19.98 in the final that has the track world truly buzzing. This performance comes just months after Gout broke Usain Bolt's world age 16 best in the 200 meters. In 2024, at the Australian All-Schools Championships in Brisbane, he clocked 20.04 seconds to surpass Bolt's 20.13, which had stood since 2003. For context, these records from Bolt's teenage years were once considered virtually untouchable, as Rayanch Dubey aptly described them. Bolt's records used to be like those carved in stone and thrown into the bottom of the ocean. You just knew they were there, and catching them up was something next to impossible. But wait, there is more. The comparisons to Bolt are inevitable, but what's truly remarkable is how quickly Gout is closing the gap to the Jamaican legend's senior records. Bolt's world record in the 200 meters stands at 19.19 seconds, set at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin. While Gout's 19.98 came with significant wind assistance, the fact that he's already flirting with sub-20 performances at just 17 years old suggests a trajectory that could eventually challenge even Bolt's most hallowed marks. Gatlin, who had competed against Bolt throughout much of his career, raised important questions about what would come next for the young Australian star. Do you put him on a more international schedule to where he can race other athletes of his caliber and he will be in that season to be able to race them? Or do you just kind of let him be the king of his own domain? This concern highlights a genuine development dilemma. Gout has clearly outgrown his domestic competition, winning by margins that don't push him to his absolute limits. The 40-year-old sprint legend suggested a balanced approach. I think he's going to kind of take the Quincy route. He's going to run some of his age group and then some meet where he could jump into a pro race. This strategy would allow Gout to continue dominating age-appropriate competitions while occasionally testing himself against world-class professional sprinters. What we witnessed at the Queensland Championships was both a coronation and a warning shot to the international sprint community.
For our sport to really have a governing body to really go through ranks, I think he's going to kind of take the Quincy route. He's going to run some of his age group, and then some meets where he could jump into a pro race, he will.
The coronation came as Gout officially became the first Australian to break the 20-second barrier in any conditions. The warning shot is aimed at the established sprint hierarchy. Gout Gout is already running times that would be competitive at major international championships. The excitement surrounding Gout extends beyond just his times. Track enthusiasts are witnessing the emergence of potentially the next great sprint star. When a teenager is already posting world-leading times before their 18th birthday, the natural question becomes, what might they accomplish when they reach their physical prime in their mid-20s? For reference, Bolt didn't set his first world record until age 21, and his most dominant performances came between the ages of 22 and 26. With the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics on the horizon, Gout is positioning himself as one of the most anticipated attractions of those games. By then, he'll be 20 years old and potentially entering his prime years as a sprinter. The article concludes, so keep your ears and eyes wide open. Gout Gout continues to improve. At this rate, we might see him in LA 2028.